Hope not. There was somebody in this camp. I can feel it in my bones.
Daddy, give me my baby back. Come on, honey.
What you laughing at, boy? You laughing at me? You know who the daddy of that chocolated baby is? Huh? You do? Well, who is it? Speak up!
It's my baby, boss. He's lying. I'm the father of that baby, boss.
Boss, I'm that baby's daddy.
Any fool can see that baby belongs to me.
I want it different. That little rascal belonged to me.
Proud to say, boss, I'm that baby's daddy.
I be the paw, boss.
I'm the paw of that there youngin', boss.
I'm the peppy.
Hello everyone, this is Speaker Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be another review in our Unrated Underappreciated movie series, and in this edition we will focus on the prison comedy drama Life. Released in April the 16th 1999, it stars Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence, and it was directed by Ted Demme. Now the story of Life is that we are set in the early 1930s, where we focus on two individuals, small-time thief Ray Gibson and aspiring banker Claude Banks, and the two cross paths with one another and inadvertently end up owing money to a small-time gangster. Now to pay off this debt, they end up going to Mississippi to pick up a secret stash of booze to deliver it on return. After attaining the booze, the two spend the night at a bar, drinking and gambling, and on their way back they witness the murder of a card hustler by a sheriff. Standing over the dead body, they are then seen by other witnesses and are then accused of murder. Both are sent to trial and given life prison sentences. The remaining story then follows Ray and Claude over decades, bickering and arguing, befriending other prisoners and making several attempts to escape. We see the two age into their elderly years, facing the prospect that they may never again gain freedom for a crime that they didn't commit. Now I've always enjoyed Life as a very funny, entertaining comedy with some actually reflective and touching moments throughout the story. Whilst it doesn't have the best of starts, to be honest with you, when we see how Ray and Claude actually get arrested, it's not a bad opening, but it's perhaps a bit too prolonged and it takes its time, I think, before getting into the real meat of the story. However, when Ray and Claude are sent to jail, that's when the film really gets going, as we see them interact with the other prisoners and making their escape attempts. This is where the movie really generates a lot of the funny moments. I love so many of the mini story arcs that we see throughout the story. One of the best scenes involves all of the prisoners together listening to Ray talk about the Boom Boom Room. This is the nightclub that he aspires to build up one day, and we get the actual visualization of the nightclub where we see all of the prisoners all dressed up and partying. It's a great scene, and again just very good to see all of the characters together in one particular moment. We then have the absolutely hilarious arc involving a prisoner named Can't Get Right, who's mute but he has a special ability in baseball. After sleeping with the superintendent's daughter who gives birth to his son, the superintendent goes on the absolute rampage, searching for the baby's father. But all the prisoners protect Can't Get Right by claiming to be the father. It's such a laugh out scene and definitely one of my most favourite moments throughout the entire film. We then have another great scene where Claude is getting older and he risks crossing the line to eat some apple pie, which is so hot it actually burns his mouth, and he ends up having to stand on bottles barefooted. This is where him and Ray eventually come to some sort of reconciliation. Now, as I mentioned before, we do get some far more reflective moments throughout this film. We have one sequence where a prisoner is due for release, but being scared as to having to deal with being back in open life, he crosses the line on purpose and essentially gets himself killed. We have a fantastic montage, if you like, during the song Life, played by Wyclef Jean, when we see the prisoners getting older and passing away. And I also love another moment where we see Claude in his elderly years stepping outside for the first time as he's working for another superintendent, when he looks at the city for the first time and he sees how much the world has changed, and you see the expression on his face, and then he walks back and then he does his tie up within the mirror. And it's just moments like this that add value to the overall movie, just making it a little bit more than just an out and out comedy, and I think it makes the film better overall. Now of course the main reason for the movie working so well is because of the performances by both Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. Of course we know them both to be very energetic and hyperactive comedic stars, and in this film they have great chemistry together. So again, much of the humour is generated when Ray and Claude are arguing, especially in their elderly years, and I think both the actors play their roles very well throughout this film. I think they just balance their performances enough so that the overall arguing never gets too repetitive or tiresome. I also have to give credit to the makeup effects work, completely convincing us that Ray and Claude are getting older, and this job was done so well that they actually earned an Oscar nomination for makeup effects. So if I had to give an overall score for Life, I would give it a 7.3 out of 10. So when we go on to the overall release of the film, and sadly the film didn't succeed financially at the box office, only grossing 73 million on a budget of 80 million. Now to be honest, for a movie that largely takes place within the confines of a prison, 80 million seems way too high for a budget of a film like this. I imagine it must have gone very much so on the salaries for both Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. Eddie Murphy himself, after a string of flops in the early 90s, had made some sort of big comeback after the Nutty Professor films and also the Dr. Dolittle films. And Martin Lawrence had gained some prominence after starring in the likes of Bad Boys alongside Will Smith as well. But even then, I still think 80 million is too much of an excessive budget for a film like this. And maybe the thought of a hard prison comedy like this didn't really appeal much to the audiences overall. Some critics felt that outside the humour, the film didn't really have much to say, and maybe it was the change in movies themselves that towards the end of the 90s we were very much focused far more on CGI blockbusters and high octane action films, so a movie like Life didn't really have much chance in terms of standing out in the overall Hollywood climate. But despite all of this, I still find Life to be a thoroughly entertaining and very funny, laugh out loud comedy, bolstered by some great performances from both Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. This is definitely a film that I believe deserves much more recognition post its overall release. And even having watched the film several times, I still find it endlessly rewatchable. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings and review of Life. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think it's one of Eddie Murphy's best films or his worst films? Why do you think personally that it didn't succeed at the box office overall? If you indeed, like me, find it very entertaining, which scenes stand out to you the most in terms of this overall movie? Let me know in the comments. And if you have any other films that you'd like to see me review within this channel, then let me know also within the comments, and if I've seen the film, then I'll provide some extra commentary on that content as well. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.